Let's bring in our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley from the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson from the Detroit Free Press, to weigh in on the year that was and to take a look into the future. Merry Christmas, guys. It's good to see you.
Christmas.
All right, so it was quite a year. I mean, there was no shortage of news in 2014.
I don't remember anything happening.
Oh, please. You were like, wait, what happened this year? And maybe sometimes it all starts to blur together a little bit.
I think
all
end
right.
of the year we just get tired. It's all overload.
You're like, let's just get to the 2015. But before we talk about 2015, let's take a look back. And I think the #1 story on everyone's list is the Detroit bankruptcy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got out in record time. We got out with a deal that I think no one could have imagined when we filed in mid-20 or early 2013. This grand bargain, the idea of almost $800 million from parties outside the bankruptcy that had nothing to do with the case, coming in to shore up pensions and save the art of the museum. I mean,
do you think we'll ever see that in any other circumstance?
I can't imagine how or when it would occur again. Everybody involved in the case says this is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it. I'm not sure how they even worked through the legality of it. It was so unusual. So I think that defines this case in a way that nothing else does.
So does this set Detroit up now?
I think so, and I think that's the thing. Probably a year ago, we didn't fully understand. When this bankruptcy first started, we were looking at it as one mission: clean up the balance sheet, get rid of the debt. And you know, that looked like a very painful process at the beginning. I don't think anybody realized that part of the mission, a big part of the mission, would also be to set Detroit up for the future, to provide it with operating funds, to provide better services. And that's the real positive that came out of this bankruptcy.
It's a maybe positive, right? I mean, the projections are very soft, and the extra money is not nearly as much as it was earlier predicted to be.
But it's extra money, and we didn't anticipate that in the beginning. It's extra money, and services are already starting to be addressed. I mean, you're already both with more money and greater efficiencies. You know, they're not where they need to be yet, but this is the first time in my memory that Detroit, the operation of Detroit, the government of Detroit, is on an upward trajectory instead of the other way.
So you have some confidence in what could happen in the future. So let me ask you, what is that gut check? What is the feeling about Detroit?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on who you ask, right? There are a lot of people who feel like this is an opportunity, and it is to do better. There are a lot of people still waiting to see how that opportunity affects their lives. I mean, you go out in the neighborhoods and people are optimistic, I think, more than most people think, but they are also sort of wondering when's our turn? When is it going to affect the place that I live?
All right, other top story, it was the elections this year. And I think the fact that a lot of races were decided in the primary in the summertime, and the fact that the governor's race was so close here, Nolan, what does that say?
Well, I mean, it says that, what I think it says is that Governor Snyder ran a really poor campaign. I mean, he put together a bad team and he ran the campaign himself, and he took a CEO's approach to the political process. He thought his record should be enough, and the results should be enough. And, you know, if you look at it, Michigan is in an upswing. It was very rare for governors to have any sort of trouble when the economy's growing in terms of their reelection. But I think he didn't sell himself enough early enough. He wanted his work to speak for itself.
How do those election results impact what his agenda is going to be now for the next year, Stephen?
Well, I mean, I think the more important than his result is the result in the legislature where his party grew its majorities. I mean, I think he can do pretty much anything he wants to do. But he's got to deal with this legislature that's going to be more conservative. I don't think any of us knows quite what that's going to look like yet. I would hope that he would lead from the center. I mean, I think that was how he sold himself initially to voters here. Those were the things that he did early on that were the most popular. Stay away from the social issues and the more controversial stuff that the caucus, in particularly the House, is going to want to get after.
Yeah, but I mean, that social stuff was never his idea anyway. I mean,
Understood.
that was taken to him by his caucus, and I can't imagine that's going to change. He has a more conservative caucus now. I think all of the friction in this next term is going to be between he and his caucus. But the closeness of the election, Chrissy, I think suggests another thing, and that is, as the governor noted during the campaign, not everyone has felt this economic recovery yet. And his challenge in this term is to make sure everybody feels it. We got to jumpstart job creation in the state and growth.
All right, so let's talk about 2015. If we're talking about the economy and making sure that more people feel that improvement, what else are we going to be talking about in 2015? Big ideas.
Well, I think the governor is going to be focused on education. We have, at the Free Press, really honed in on this question of what are charter schools doing and how are they governed in this state, because it's so lax by any standard nationally. We're sort of a joke on that, and the results, I think, speak to it. They are not generally much better than the public schools, which also need better governance and more accountability. I think he's going to get after that pretty early in the year.
Well, I don't think he's going to focus on charter schools. I'm going to think
focus on
because
both,
the failure of education in
gotta go
Michigan
beyond
is not
that.
about charter schools. It's about public schools.
It's also about charter schools.
It's mostly about public schools, and I think he's going to focus on broad education reform. We'll see how much he's able to put in place. Michigan has been resistant to reform, resistant to bringing everybody together on one plan. We got too many education reform plans going out at once. Nobody really knows what we're doing. That's one area. Municipal finance is another. We can't have another bankruptcy, and we can't have these serial emergency managers throughout the state. They've got to figure out either how to intervene early and make sure the communities don't go off the track, or come up with a new plan for financing communities.
All right, it's going to be an interesting 2015. I know you guys will be along for the ride. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Enjoy the time, and we'll see you in the new year. And that is going to do it for MiWeek. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate all the time that you've spent with us this year, and hope we can continue to be the place that you turn for the best analysis of what's happening in Michigan. Thanks to our MiWeek crew for all of their hard work every week here at Detroit Public TV. We couldn't do it without you. So find us at MiWeek.org. Keep in touch during the week on Facebook and on Twitter. And for all of us at Detroit Public TV, I'm Christy McDonald. Merry Christmas. We'll see you in 2015. Take care.